Hello and welcome to Catholic Answers Live. I am Cy Kellett, your host. And at this point, I usually say delighted to be with you, but frankly, I'm a little nervous today because it's Flannel Panel. We got the Flannel Panel. It's been a while. I don't know if we're going to be rusty, if we're still going to be able to do this, but news of the world from a Catholic perspective with our flannel-clad guests. First of all, Chris Check, president of Catholic Answers. Hello, Chris Check.
Cy, thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for being
here.
Well,
it is my studio, I guess.
Did you give a choice? No, but
it's not mine.
Actually, it's nice to have you here because we haven't done it in a long time. Like, doesn't it feel like it's been a while?
I've been traveling, and so have you, by the way. We were in New Orleans together.
Yep. Oh, that's why we missed the last one. Yeah, we were in New Orleans for the Gilbert Keith Chesterton Society.
May I tell all your listeners, Cy Kellett made his debut at the annual conference of the Gilbert Keith Chesterton Society, run by our dear friends.
I wore a beautiful gown.
It's
not that kind of debut.
That's what
different kind of
debut means in the South. Yeah, no, run by our friends Dale Alquist and the great Joe Grabowski. And Cy gave a talk on Walker Percy, on the thought of Walker Percy, and it was the best talk of the conference.
Thank you, Chris.
It was. You stole the show. And by the way, I was on the program too, so the bar was set pretty high.
Yep, and it was a great conference, I got to say. It was a lovely conference. They're such nice, good people.
They are suffused with joy and mirth and a little bit of weirdness. I love
all
those
the good things.
Chestertonians.
All the good things, yeah. And it makes you happy to see people who are they're not controversialists in the sense of they're looking for some kind of problem. They're looking for a joyful way to present the faith and share the faith. It's exciting.
Yeah, and by the way, in the midst of modernity, they're not. I mean, I guess you have a couple of the Luddite types in there or whatever, but mostly it's just people say, look, we know we have to operate here in the modern world and evangelize in the modern world, and we think that G.K. Chesterton is the perfect example of someone who did that.
Yeah. You mentioned Joe Grabowski, who
he's great.
Does he run the Society for Dale? I don't know his job.
I think he does all the work, and Dale is the pretty face, pretty much.
Well,
at this point.
I'm glad you mentioned Joe because this morning I got an email from Joe Grabowski asking if he was on Flannel Panel because I only have 2 Joes in my email, and I sent it to the wrong Joe, our other guest for Flannel Panel, Joe Heschmeyer. I'm sorry. If you didn't see the preparation materials for this, Joe, that's okay. Joe Grabowski did.
Actually, can we just let Joe Heschmeyer go and bring Joe Grabowski
Can we bring Joe Grabowski in?
Yes. Yeah, this is great. I think, last time we had Siobhan make a surprise appearance, and everyone decided they liked her better.
Yep.
Yeah, that's why we're never having her on again.
No,
oh, my gosh. She was better than everybody. So that's it.
I mean, we're not clearing high bars here, but yeah.
I have to say, Joe, I'm Joe Heschmeyer. That is, I'm very proud of you. You, from the very first moment we saw you today, you were wearing flannel. You did not forget your flannel for the Flannel Panel.
I was wearing a different shirt earlier, and then I actually was able to run home and change shirts at lunchtime. And my daughter saw me, and I'm wearing, just for the record, like pink shorts. I mean, like salmon colored.
How long are they? First of all, how long?
They're professional.
They're not short shorts, right?
No,
like we can't see you.
Richard Simmons,
not like 1970s basketball player.
Okay, all right. Because that was an image we were getting in here. Like,
no.
So you're wearing.
But they don't match. They don't match. Is what I mean to say. And they're shorts.
Yeah.
And my daughter sees me and says, "Are you dressed up for mass?" And I was, on the one hand, proud of her knowing that you dressed up for Mass at 5, not proud of her idea of what Dad getting dressed up looks like. And I want to stress, I would not wear this to Mass.
What would your pastor say if you wore pink shorts and a blue flannel shirt to Mass?
That's a great question. I am afraid to find out.
Yeah. Some wouldn't say anything. They're just happy that you're there. And frankly, I think that is the correct attitude. In most cases, if people are there, just welcome them. But he knows that you're a world-famous Catholic apologist. He would probably scold you for your attire.
I went to seminary with the pastor of both the churches that we go to in the city. So I've been friends with both of the men who are now spiritual fathers to me.
Oh.
And so it creates a nice dynamic. And one of them pointed out a hymn that we had used in church recently and asked my thoughts about it. As he's processing back, he nudges me and
what'd you think of that
asks
one?
me about it.
Did you have a view? Did you have an opinion about it?
I did.
Was it a bad?
I won't.
Was that why? Oh,
like
you know what?
the
I don't want to
first-
get you in trouble at your home
The
pair.
tune
People
was
are
good.
putting
The
hard work
tune
in.
was good because it's to the tune of the old French carol that famously is the tune of "Let all mortal flesh keep silence," but it talks about the earthly Jesus and cosmic Christ in this way that is very strange.
Yeah.
Where I actually think it's orthodox, but it sounds real weird.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Well, what can you do if you're in church? Sing. But you two don't have that theory. If I hear it and it's clearly heretical to me, I won't sing it. But if it's even on the margin, I'm going to sing. I think you're supposed to just sing.
I don't sing FUBU songs. I don't know if you're
I don't know what
of
a
the
FUBU
right
song is. Do
age.
you know what a FUBU
So
song is?
FUBU was briefly a clothing line within the African American community, and
this
FUBU
like
stood for Us, By
FOMO?
Us.
Oh, for us,
And
by
so
us.
music
Yeah.
that is FUBU, music that is for us, by us, where we sing about how great we
are the light of the world.
Yeah, we are the ones who've been sung throughout history.
Yeah.
It's just like the narcissistic hymns, whether they're theologically heretical, strictly speaking, or not. What are we doing?
I think you
Like,
guys are.
we're
I
not-
love the narcissistic hymns. For some reason, I feel extra special when we're singing.
Like,
I
I
love
finally
those.
feel seen. Yeah, I don't know why.
Put
I
on
have
my
some
pink
hymns
short
that
shorts
I
and sing 'em.
just can't. There are a couple of modern ones that I'm not bothered by. Maybe one or two.
But it does feel to me that we're past the worst of liturgical.
Absolutely.
Clearly, we hit
the
a
dang
nadir
shoot.
at some point in the 70s or 80s, and I don't like.
Didn't he get hit by that one car? It was like unsafe at any speed.
Dan
We
Sheet.
hit a nadir.
Oh.
The Corsair.
So look, don't make us work on the
Corvair.
puns. At least make them something that's.
Is it the Corvair?
We're not
Yeah,
we're not
it is.
veering
It's
off
Chevy
into
Corvair.
Ralph
That's right.
Nader now. The two of you, knock it off. All right, we're going to get to the news of the day from a Catholic perspective. If I have your permission, gentlemen, to move to the news of the day from a Catholic perspective, I will just say this summer, as a matter of fact, this very month is the 56th anniversary of the Woodstock Music Festival on Yasgur's farm there in New York. One of the great cultural watersheds, apparently, because there's endless documentaries, books, reflections, songs, a famous Joni Mitchell song, of course, about the thing. 460,000 youth gathered for this important event, and this month, 56 years later, on that same month, August, 56 years later, 1 million youth, so more than double the size group, gathered. And had you heard about that in the news? Have you seen the documentaries and read the books or the pop songs being written about it, or anything like that?
No.
No,
You've
I
not?
found out about it this morning from you.
Oh, you didn't know about it before that? Oh, man. We both taught each other something, because remember, you taught me something today.
Remind me?
Which one is the fifth commandment?
Oh, that's right. Yes.
You said, well, that's a violation of the fifth commandment. And I said, which one is the fifth? And you were like, oh, my gosh, this guy's the host of
You're
the
not
show.
going to say what the violation was.
Yeah, it sounds a little ominous.
Boxing, I think. Were we talking about boxing? Or combat sports?
What I said is unnecessarily putting your body at a risk of injury without sufficient reason.
I was pitching to Chris the idea that we should do a debate between our own apologists about combat sports and
Right.
whether or not they're moral.
Right.
And
Should it be like a verbal argument or like Muay Thai?
no, don't do Muay Thai, because some of these people are trained. And so you don't do that.
Yeah,
Jeff.
that means very Thai.
All right. So you see by the tenor of my question, my point is, look, the Catholic Church regularly draws millions of people to these huge cultural events, and they don't mean anything to the TV news or to the world in the way that much smaller events are seen as absolutely seminal. But 1 million young people, 1 million people gathered with the Pope just less than a month ago.
By the way, there are larger such gatherings. I was speaking to a gentleman I met recently who's doing excellent missionary work, education work in Uganda, and there was a mass for the martyrs of Uganda, which is just like a couple of months ago. That feast, I think. Joe?
I
Yeah,
honestly
one
don't
of you?
know. I don't.
And,
I'm sorry. I didn't know the fifth commandment, so don't ask me.
Ugandan Martyrs is at the beginning of June.
Okay,
It's
yeah. So about a couple months ago.
Divine response to Pride Month.
Yeah, multiple millions at this mass.
In Uganda. Yeah. But you.
They have a special stadium that is built for this annual mass, for the purpose of this mass.
Wouldn't you love to go to that? I'd like to go to be with millions of Catholics at a mass. I mean, some people don't do well in crowds, though. How do you feel about crowds?
I'm not a crowd person.
You're not a crowd person?
No.
Joe? Would you do the crowd?
I like crowds.
do it in
I
a
like
minute.
going to big papal masses. I've done it before. I saw Benedict when he was in Washington, D.C. It was an amazing experience.
I saw
And
John
then-
Paul II when he was in Washington,
I've never
D.C.
You guys have.
I wish.
I was
but,
in high school.
It's too late to do it now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, half the country of East Timor came out. Like literally half of the country. Are you aware of that,
Yeah,
Joe? Do you remember that?
that's amazing.
Half the
Yeah.
country came out for a mass. The other half had to like keep the electricity running, and like they were busy. They couldn't come out. But 50% of the people of a country came out for a single mass.
You know,
And-
this is okay. We talk a lot about the really exciting signs of life in places like sub-Saharan Africa. I gotta say, there are these spots in Oceania, if you want to call it that are really exciting. Like East Timor. It's this breakaway part of what had been Indonesia. Indonesia is the largest Muslim country on earth, and East Timor is this incredibly Catholic place of people who care about their faith and know why they're Catholic. And, Papua New Guinea, just down the road, so to speak, if you've got a boat. I know Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers spoke there, and I think like the president of Papua New Guinea met him, and it was like on TV and everything. Like,
He had a
they were so
motorcade.
excited.
I'm still so mad at him about that. I'm like, you got a motorcade? He's like, yeah, I got a motorcade.
It's amazing. So it's just there's something so beautiful about people that take the faith that seriously and get that excited over, obviously the Pope coming is a big thing, but to get that excited over not the Pope coming, to just have someone come and share the faith, is such a beautiful witness.
Si, where were these million young people gathered?
Outside of Rome, I don't know
It was near the airport, right? Was it?
I actually don't know. I just know
or
outside
some
of Rome.
airport, right? Or maybe a military base, or
I don't. I know
was a big
that
space.
the
It was
one
big
thing, the
open
only
space.
photograph I saw was when they set up confession booths on the what's the big thing? The Circus Maximus.
Circo Massimo.
Yeah, they thousands and thousands of people came to confession.
That's really edifying to see.
Isn't that beautiful?
It is.
All right, we got to take a very quick break. We're going to continue with we got a lot of great news of the world from a Catholic perspective, but I want to get I just want to get to the contrast between the absolute fawning over things like Woodstock, which are frankly relatively small cultural events that take
He's
on
like a little yellow bird.
Like why? Yeah, that's right. A little tiny little Woodstock. Why? I got it, Joe. I don't expect.
I'm sorry, I threw you off, and maybe that's the
I just
point.
want you to know that I got your brilliant. Really, brilliant is too
supply
mild a
timber.
word. Your brilliant pun. Who's running this culture that the important things don't get covered and the silly things do? Right back with more on Catholic Answers Live.
Hang on. Catholic Answers Live will return in a moment.
Are you a coffee drinker? If so, you can now enjoy a coffee roasted to perfection by the Carmelite monks of Wyoming. Delicious Mystic Monk coffee is roasted and prepared by monks in a hidden cloistered monastery and is available in over 25 varieties. All Mystic Monk coffees are works of perfection and labors of love. For more information on how to purchase Mystic Monk coffee, visit mysticmonkcoffee.com. That's mysticmonkcoffee.com.
Underwriting for Catholic Answers Live is provided by Real Estate for Life. Real Estate for Life connects home buyers and sellers to real estate agents while supporting pro-life organizations. On the web at realestateforlife.org.
As the leader in Catholic event coverage, EWTN brings you unmatched access to this Jubilee year's most powerful moments. On September 7th, we'll report live from Rome with exclusive behind-the-scenes content for the much-awaited canonization of Blessed Carlo Acutis, who inspired many with his faith and tech-savvy evangelization. Carlo, who died at 15 in 2016, is now on track to become the first millennial saint.
Welcome back. Catholic Answers Live. I do think one of the things that is people are starting to realize that I think got overlooked for a couple generations is that the television news is not the real world. It's television news. Everything there is being captured by a camera because the camera person wanted to capture that. It's being filtered by editors and reporters and packaged for you. And so what you get is you're not getting closer to reality by watching the evening news. You're getting farther from reality. You might learn some facts, like you might learn what the temperature is going to be tomorrow, or that there was an earthquake in Russia or something. And those are important facts. But the sum total of a 30-minute broadcast value in facts is probably less than 30 seconds worth of. The rest of it is all something being manufactured for ratings. And I think we say this intellectually, but we always forget it, and we let the news form our consciousness, to form our way of seeing the world. And so things that are trivial, really trivial, like the Woodstock Festival, are remembered literally 6 decades later. And the fact that twice that number of young people came out just one day this month to visit with the Pope is already forgotten.
So the Woodstock event, I don't know if I'm prepared to call it trivial, but I think what I will agree with you on is that it's an event that was expanded on or almost created after the fact.
Oh yeah,
right.
Right.
I mean, it was a 2-day concert. It rained one of the days.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's in the reporting and the remembering or the
reminiscing and the romanticizing and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's something kind of cool about the experience, but not at the level of let's keep talking about it 60 years later. I was actually talking with my in-laws about this recently. We were watching that new Bob Dylan documentary. And it's quite good. Timothy Chalamet is a more than passable.
It's not a documentary, Joe.
It's
not documentary. Sorry,
biopic.
Yeah. Sorry.
The first 2/3 are good.
Yeah, he seems like a real jerk when he goes electric, which I think is actually a pretty fair.
I like it better when he's
presents
a jerk.
it in a different. Yeah, I mean,
I
don't think anyone
I'm one of
who's
those people
heard
who
this
like
show is
Dylan
surprised
better
by
when
this.
he's a jerk. Yeah.
You know who does a great job in that movie?
Who? I know you. Ed Norton.
Ed Norton.
How did he not win something for that? He was brilliant. He was the best performance in that movie.
Superb in that show.
Wonderful.
As
Pete Seeger.
Yeah, Pete Seeger.
Pete Seeger, an absolutely brilliant parody performance of Pete Seeger. I want to say parody, but he's not. He was really Pete Seeger was a parody of himself.
I thought it was a very affectionate performance.
Very affectionate,
of
right?
Pete Seeger.
That's true.
Yeah.
But Pete Seeger, totally sincerely saying things like "a fellow traveler," where you go, okay, good for you, Pete. Go ahead, Joe. You were about to say something.
Well, what I was going to say is it begins with HUAC, like the House Un-American Activities Committee.
Yeah.
Oh, and this is technically sort of relevant, but my sister-in-law commented on the sheer number of times Hollywood has to remind you of how bad Joe McCarthy was. And they just can't let it go. And it's wild as someone who is now 40 and is too young to have experienced this, to see people of an older generation who are singularly obsessed with this time Hollywood was treated unfairly in Hollywood's view, and how much Hollywood wants to remind everyone of that. There's an obsession with it, and I think you do see a certain thing with Woodstock that's kind of the same, but not a slight, but just... This is your own personal high or low, and you're making everyone listen to the story one more time.
And there isn't any room at all for, what do we want to say? Maybe even a middle-of-the-road narrative. There were communists in Hollywood. Actually, there are today.
Right. There's no question about it.
There were members of the Communist Party.
Pete Seeger was married to a communist who was the daughter of pretty outspoken communists.
Yes. But, Pete Seeger later apologized for his embrace of Soviet Russia. And how many other people did that? I do admire Pete Seeger for saying he was wrong about so he never said he was wrong about anything else. But, to say that he was wrong about that, but what that reflects is that there's a kind of like Pete. It doesn't do like imagine if Pete Seeger had been sympathetic to the Nazis. I hate to make that, but comparison because it does get tired. But being a communist is okay. You were a wayward young boy, but if you were even for a minute a whiff of Nazi about you, you're a horror forever. There's no redeeming you in the public eye. But I do think there's this kind of I think that some of this comes from the idea of progress, that there's an idea of progress as constantly pushing boundaries and shattering things and breaking things. Like I just watched a wonderful documentary on Nichols and May, the really revolutionary comics, Mike Nichols and is it Elaine May? From the 1960s, and they really are revolutionary comics. But part of what they did was to lower the standards of what was acceptable to joke about.
Yes.
Like they really pushed the boundaries when they joked about abortion. Yeah, but they also were joking about abortion. Like that's so.
Right.
Like help me see where that's progress. So there's a way in which Woodstock is good because it's shattering something. It's changing and the meeting with the Pope. Who cares? It's the same old thing.
The push the boundaries is a great euphemism for becomes more scatological. It's supposed to be we're more creative or avant-garde or whatever it is. But really what it means is we've just become more savage.
Yes, and it's clear we are more savage than we were, and that'll get into the next story we're going to cover. But yeah, that's right. And we can't you can't celebrate everybody meeting with the Pope because somehow that's just hearkening back to bad things, and the good things are always in front of us. If we just smash a few more, standards, if we just crater a few more. Kind of precious traditions, then we'll finally be free of all this. That it seems to me, anyways.
I think the meeting with the Pope is a source of a lot of hope and inspiration for people, and I think it is a manifestation of a theme that we talk about on this show on a fairly regular basis, and that is the very, very good work that is being done in the Catholic media world and available because of social media, because of the internet, which of course we know is also a conduit for many, many bad things. But it's not a space that we can cede to the bad guys. And so many young people are finding out or learning again about the love and mercy of Jesus Christ by virtue of, who was the young guy who was here just yesterday? Franco TV, the Franco TV on at Instagram. Yeah, what is that guy, like 18 years old?
He's 22, I think he said. He's 22. Yeah, he's a very young guy.
Well, I mean,
right.
Okay, Joe, bear with me. He had never heard of Cary Grant.
That's how young he is. He's never heard of Cary Grant.
So he came here dressed in a black was he on TV yesterday?
Yeah, he had a black turtleneck.
Yeah, if you were watching, he had a black turtleneck and black trousers on, and I said to him, "You look like you're getting ready to rob an art gallery or steal some diamonds or something." And I said, "You look like Cary Grant To Catch a Thief." And he says, "Who's Cary
Grant?"
He says, "Who's Cary Grant?"
Wow.
Yeah, but this kid.
Okay, look, I was not born. I mean, Cary Grant.
No, he was the biggest. He was the biggest or second
1985.
biggest movie star, or third of his career.
I'm not sure this is entirely an age thing, is what I'm trying to say. It's like, to not know who Cary Grant is, you don't need to have been alive during his lifetime. To know who he is.
Right. But Chris and I had an amazing experience one day talking about Charlie Chaplin. Do you remember the day?
Yes.
There was
with staff, employees
two
of Catholic
young
Answers.
Staff were in the conversation with us. The four of us are standing in the hall.
I'm going to name one of them.
Don't name. But we started talking about Charlie Chaplin, and they both said, "Who's Charlie Chaplin?"
Yeah.
And we were like,
"True story."
Wow, the world it goes on. But I think that's
to me, that's actually saying something like, "Who's Leonardo da Vinci?" Now, look, I'm not saying that Chaplin was the genius that Da Vinci was, but he was a genius. He was a comic genius. There's no question.
Right. And a communist, by the way.
Yeah, for sure. But it just seems very. So actually, I think there's something at work here, and it's the contraction of, what do you call it, Joe? The memory timeline, or
it's
something.
very short now.
It's extremely short, and that, by the way, is one of the effects of the new media.
But then people discover stuff too, though. Like, you know what's going to happen is in a few years, somebody's going to make some kind of meme of Charlie Chaplin boxing or Charlie Chaplin going through the machine, these classic Charlie Chaplin images. And then people are going to be like, there's going to be a revival of Charlie Chaplin, and people will be a rediscovery of the great Charlie Chaplin. That'll probably happen for Cary Grant. So it's weird. Everything is forgotten, but nothing is forgotten. Nothing is permanently forgotten.
I think memory is dramatically contracted, especially on.
Oh, I mean, there's actually good evidence on that score. I mean, I think we have to balance this thing of how much is the sort of generational narcissism all of us experience, where the bands of your teenage years are just objectively the greatest, no matter when you were born. And the people who are really influential kind of in your lifetime, like, we don't want to do basically to Charlie Chaplin what other people do to Woodstock. On the other hand, there are people who legitimately have transcendent legacies that go well beyond their own time and place. And it is kind of a bad sign if we're losing that, if we're losing that part of culture.
Well, that happens in the church. I'll talk about what I mean when we come back. But recently did a little video on the Beguines. Women who are devoted to Christ in the Middle Ages, and people are like, I thought women were stuck in the home in the Middle Ages. All right, we'll be right back. We hope that one of the things that we communicate here at Catholic Answers Live is that our Catholic faith allows us to be fully serious about all the problems we encounter in the church and in the world, but it also lets us have light hearts and maybe even mix in a bit of fun, and that is exactly what our good friend Joe Heschmeyer does in his popular podcast, Shameless Popery. You should check it out at shamelessjoe.com. Joe's got a deep grasp of the faith, morals, the teachings of the church, all that, but he's also got a witty conversational style. He entertains and he informs, but you will leave equipped to better answer the most common challenges, misconceptions, and questions about the Catholic faith. He's got insightful guests, he does on-air debates, and he takes a close look into all the things that you want to know about as a Catholic living today. You'll walk away knowledgeable and filled with joy. Look for Joe on his YouTube channel. Check him out at shamelessjoe.com or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you like what you hear, become a patron.
Throughout history, some Catholics have been among the worst kind of villains, right? Or were they? In Cancelled, historian Steve Weidenkopf digs into the lives and controversies of some of these Catholics whose reputations have been blackened, often unfairly. He takes on the anti-Catholic versions of history and defends not only these figures, but the faith they represent. Order your copy of Cancelled today at shop.catholic.com or ask for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
Each Catholic is obliged to spread and defend the faith by word and deed. Well, we're here to help. Join special guests Chris Stefanik, Dr. David Anders, Steve Dawson, and all your favorite Catholic Answers apologists this September 25th through 28th in beautiful San Diego for the Catholic Answers Conference. Our theme? Go make disciples. Enjoy 4 days of faith, fun, and fellowship. Use promo code EARLY to save $50 when you register today at CatholicAnswersConference.com. Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. Joe Heschmeyer, Chris Check, our guest. I'm Cy Kellett, your host. We've all got flannel shirts on. That means we're doing Flannel Panel today, which is the news of the world from a Catholic perspective. Are either of you familiar with the news site? And I maybe should put that in air quotes. I don't know. But the news site, Vox, Vox.com, Vox. Are you familiar with it?
I
am, in fact.
And they do.
I know of it. Familiar, maybe overstating it.
There's two things that I don't like in the media. Actually, there's about a million things that I don't like in the media.
I'm trying to figure out what that list of
I'm a
two is gonna
curmudgeon,
be.
but two I don't like. Fact checkers. I don't like fact checkers because they're never actually checking facts. They're always checking something that's nearly a fact. And explainers. When someone says they're going to explain to me something, I feel like it's almost always a 24-year-old reporter who knows nothing about the topic and got some sources. And I feel like you didn't explain anything. So this is just my curmudgeonly. But the Vox is famous.
I love the idea of both of those things.
What?
Like, I think if you can actually do factual checking and explainers, that'd be wonderful. But the problem is both of them have been pretty quickly weaponized to make ideological and political points.
Snopes is a great example of this.
Snopes has very good stuff, and then they have stuff that undermines their credibility.
Yes.
And it's very frustrating because there is an actual place for someone to just say, you said there were 52 states and there are 50. where it's just you were objectively wrong on this. But unfortunately, we don't want to respect the bounds of it. So here, in a lot of ways, it's a victim of its own success. So as I understand it, the history of this is these were the most successful parts of online newspapers, the fact check and the explainer, because people want to figure out what's going on and they want to say, I just heard this thing on TV. Is it true? And so they just did more and more of those, but only so often is it a simple, clear-cut case of this is factually true or untrue. Frequently, it's like, will this help or hurt the economy? And who knows?
Right, exactly. Who knows?
We do explainers at Catholic.com all the time. I mean, we don't call them explainers, but we explain a church teaching or a practice.
That's what I was saying. Did I say I love explainers? Right? Did I say? I thought I meant to say I love.
You're like,
explainers.
my least favorite site.
By the way, who does very good explainers is The Pillar, and they call them explainers.
Oh yeah, they do. That's true. Yeah. Well, over at Vox, they love their explainers, and I often feel more confused by the explainer than the question that they're explaining. But Ali Volpe, a reporter at Vox, just did one. Are we in a crisis of rudeness? And first of all, I love the headline. I know the reporter doesn't write the headline, but it feels to me like the whole world is ruder than it used to be. But this is often a problem of people, you pass 50 and then you pass 60 and everybody's getting ruder. Are they, or are you just, is just the bloom off your rose? And so I was very interested to read it. And I have to say, Ali Volpe did a nice job. She did a nice job of reporting on this.
What is the headline?
So are we in a crisis of rudeness?
So can I just say something about headlines here? Because I think I've noticed this, especially in the last couple of years. So I think it's been going a lot longer. All headlines now online yeah. Whereas an actual headline in a newspaper would be a short declarative statement of what the article was about.
Yeah.
But this is because of the phenomenon of click.
Yeah, you're more likely to. Yeah, that's probably right.
So
there was a time when you really shouldn't have put a question mark in a headline. That wouldn't.
Dewey
have
beats Truman? Question mark.
They probably should have had a question mark on that one.
Yeah.
You're right. That would have saved a lot. And then, of course, the subhead says, why it feels like people are more impolite than ever. Of course, they're not going to be able to explain that. You can't explain my feelings, Vox, but thank you for trying. But they do pay this off in general with a good article on, are we ruder? Is our society ruder? And I just want to know what the two of you think. If just on an impressionistic sense, do you think that we're ruder than we used to be?
Yes.
I do as well.
You do? Okay, that encourages me because I just thought, well, I'm aging.
Well, no, I think that's actually part of it. I'm going to give a caveated yes. But yes, I think that even when you take into account all of the factors where we might just be dealing with different social codes, there is also just a rise in indifference to the feelings of others.
Dress is an excellent example of this.
Go.
Well, I mean,
pay that off.
Here we are, kind of dressed.
We're all dressed in our flannel. Yes,
casually, but
everything's casual.
It is, including at church. It's ball caps in restaurants. You see grown men my age and older, wearing ball caps inside a restaurant.
Yeah,
that's rude.
No. Okay, is that rude, or is that just a change in the standard?
Rude?
What's rude about that?
Because men don't wear hats indoors.
Okay, but you would concede. The
Italians have this phrase that just is non si fa, like it is not done.
And
if you ask for why can you not have pizza and pasta together,
it's
just
not
non si fa.
Yeah,
that's not how we do things.
And we love the Italians for that. But what falls under the category of what's not done changes over time. There was a time when this was not done, but it is. There was a time when you're wearing a tie without a tie pin, like it's not done. But today you wear a tie without a tie pin. There was a time when
even tuxedos were dressed down, they were like what a servant would wear, as opposed to proper evening wear.
Yeah, I don't have a dinner jacket. I'm stuck in my tuxedo.
Yeah,
right.
And I'm inclined to think now we could regard a tuxedo as fairly fancy.
It's maximum. It's top fancy. You can't get fancier than a tuxedo now. That's why Chris made me stop wearing them to work. He told me, no more tuxedos, man. You're making everybody look bad.
The old headmaster, God rest his soul, of my high school, the Heights, Robert Jackson, used to tell us that if we loosened our necktie while walking to the bus stop, to the Metro bus in Washington, D.C. to go home, we were being rude to, a construction worker or someone that we might, or anyone that we might pass on the street.
And explain the thinking behind that, because I do think, especially here in Southern California, that is foreign. That way of thinking.
Okay,
is
well, so
utterly
first
foreign.
of all,
So
this is Washington D.C. or Bethesda, Maryland, in the
1493,
late 70s or
Okay.
early 80s. So I'll allow a little bit of what Joe is saying there in terms of mores changing. Is mores the word?
Yeah.
Yeah. But he insisted that it showed disrespect, and I think some of it derives from station, right, in society, and what people's roles are, and dressing for that which you are undertaking. So, for example, here let me think of a different example. The United States Marines have, of the American Armed Forces, the most magnificent of the uniforms. They just do. This is
an objective fact.
No, it is.
Yeah.
Fact check.
And as a Marine, you've had this fact check. Yes.
It is. But to me, it's fitting because of the important work that they do, their elite nature, their elite status, all the history that attaches to, and culture and tradition that attaches to the United States Marines. So when someone is, a high school student at a private Catholic school, that's his station, and it's appropriate that he dress that way. And if he's not dressing that way, or if he's dressing down, it's in a strange way, isn't it? Sort of an insult to the person who actually is, a blue collar laborer or something of that nature. I'll give you one more example.
Well,
my old boss, Tom Fleming, used to say he never wore jeans. For him, casual was khakis. And he just said, okay, jeans are the preserve of laborers or farmers or
internet billionaires now.
Well, yeah, precisely. I mean, I'm wearing them myself right now.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit hypocritical, but I think there is a kind of rudeness in there.
But I wonder if that has to do with something that's good, which is a diminishment of class distinctions.
I'm not sure that's good.
You're not sure that the diminishment of class distinctions is good?
No, I'm not sure it is good. I'm not necessarily sure that's good.
Yeah, I don't know. Why are you laughing, Joe, about our conversation?
I mean, you guys just played into type perfectly there. I think if you were to ask what are their positions on class distinctions going to be, I think 99% of regular listeners could have gotten both of your positions correctly.
It's funny. Because I'm low class and Chris is high class.
See, the difficulty here is the suggestion that class distinction denotes a kind of a superiority, but I actually think what it properly denotes is a responsibility in society. There's a reason the President of the United States should always wear a necktie. It frankly was scandalous when Barack Obama stopped wearing a necktie.
But he.
Because of his station, because of the office. Here's another one.
But can't this change?
Jimmy Carter, who actually I'm sort of sympathetic for, though I think kind of his legacy is overstated as he
was attacked by a rabbit. All right, if you need, all right.
But I mean, there he is in the Oval Office with his jean jacket, and that is inappropriate to the Oval Office.
And now, see, I don't disagree with that, but I do think that you mentioned the Marines, you mentioned the presidency. These are governmental
carried
functions.
His own briefcase. Come on.
Yeah.
Can I go back to the original question?
Yes, go ahead.
And try to put this in a context. I think when we're talking about this, the problem is this: rudeness roughly is a violation of the respect owed to someone else.
Yes.
And that is heavily influenced by culture. So you've got two things. One, you've got somebody doing something that is not rude in their world and is rude in yours. So this is going to be different geographically. It's going to be different by age. It's going to be different by station and everything else. Like there are times where you've gone to a party and you're overdressed or underdressed because you guessed wrong what the norms were going to be. that's not rude because it's just you misguessing what the expectations are. So in that sense, I think a lot of times when people get older, they feel like the world's getting ruder because they're operating with a different set of rules than the ones that existed when you were coming up in the world.
That's why it's hard to say objectively to answer the question.
Right.
I'm going to let you finish, Joe. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Okay.
But that's
Yeah,
but my point is that's why it's objectively hard to say. Are we ruder, or is this just a change in manners?
Because then the other half is when it's not ignorant, it's indifferent. So somebody who is doing what is polite in their culture or generation or geography or whatever, even if that is rude in yours, that's not rude in the sense that I think we should be talking about. Like somebody slurping because slurping is a sign of respect for the cook at the end of a bowl of soup, and somebody else's culture says that's extremely rude. Everyone should, try to figure out what's appropriate in the setting they're in.
Yes.
But there's a difference between that and someone just saying, I'm going to slurp because I don't care. Or somebody, I was in Los Angeles last week, and someone was smoking pot openly on the subway, and I walk on with my 3 kids. And fortunately, the guy actually, I think he felt a little embarrassed. He put it out, and my son loudly complained about the smell of smoke. While sitting next to him. So,
I just want to say, though, Joe, you took your kids on the subway in L.A.
I know. I should have expected
what
the local
happened
culture,
to you? What happened that you thought that was a good idea? I got to take the break, so I'm going to let you finish.
Okay.
But it sounds like where we're getting to is that, at least to me, it sounds like you're saying, look, if I go to Japan and I don't bow properly, the Japanese person is probably going to be perfectly gracious about that because they know, look, this is an American. He doesn't understand how we're supposed to do this. Fine. But it sounds like what you're saying is here in America, let's say we're in America now, we're all living in different worlds so extreme. Like we're not a united society anymore. So I don't know what I owe the other person. It's no longer clear.
I think the Japanese person is not exactly going to react the way that you've just described.
Oh, they're lovely, the Japanese.
That is not what I'm arguing.
It depends which class they're.
I think they take these cultural norms or these behavioral customs much more seriously than we do in what's left of the Christian
But they're going
West.
to know that I'm not Japanese. They're going to.
But I think they're going to have the expectation that
I would learn
that you carry on conversation in the way that they do, and
fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's come back. We'll tackle this more. Are we in an epidemic of rudeness? Vox online news source asked the question and basically said yes. I have a quiz for these gentlemen that we're going to go through in the next segment about rudeness, which things are rude, which things are not rude. But I'm wondering now, especially given what Joe said, is the world just so fractured that nobody knows what they owe anyone else in terms of manners? Right back with more on Catholic Answers Live.
Hang on, we'll be right back with more Catholic Answers Live.
The Catechism defines evangelization as the proclamation of Christ and His gospel by word and the testimony of life. But what does that look like in real life? It looks like St. Paul street evangelists out in the public square sharing the good news. We're a Catholic nonprofit that starts conversations by handing out free sacramentals. Then we employ our method of listen, befriend, proclaim, and invite. Catholic Answers is supported in part by St. Paul Street Evangelization. Visit streetevangelization.com to learn more.
It's the freshest, cleanest, best-smelling James the Less ever. Yes, he can dance.
It's little. I prefer James.
But can he become Catholic?
My world has sort of been turned upside down, and I'm starting to like it.
Ooh. An all-new season of James the Less, streaming now at EWTN.com/JamesTheLess.
Now, welcome back. Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I am Cy Kellett, your host. Chris Check, our guest, president of Catholic Answers. Joe Heschmeyer, our guest, apologist here at Catholic Answers. We're doing Flannel Panel, which is, we do it about once a month. We missed a month because of some travel, but we tackle the news of the world from a Catholic perspective. And I actually am concerned about this rudeness thing. And I must admit that I am baffled by it. And like, is this person being rude to me, or is it just that I don't know what manners are anymore, like what the proper manners are anymore? Because there was a time when I would say thank you to people and they would say no problem, and I would think, well, that's rude. Like, I just said thank you. The proper response
welcome.
Is you're welcome. But then
it's nothing.
It was it was Jimmy Akin who pointed out to me, it just changed. The language changed. Get over yourself. And I was like, shut up, Jimmy.
Changed,
no.
but it actually seems ruder to the younger audience to say you're welcome, because then you're acknowledging implicitly, yeah, you did inconvenience me. Whereas you're supposed to just pretend it was not an inconvenience in the first place.
The one that I really loathe is I'm good.
I'm good.
I'm good. Can I get you a cup of coffee? I'm good. It's no thank you.
But you know what you should say to them? You should say, none are good.
No,
That's your Heavenly Father.
Yeah. I'm really grateful for the way Joe unpacked this and provided the principles and the categories, which, of course, he's great at given his line of work and everything. I'm much better, I think, or I'm stuck in the world of examples. I know, for example, that if you go to an Italian city and dress the way a typical American tourist dresses, with the fanny pack and
or shorts, no matter the heat. Italian men will not be caught wearing shorts.
God bless them.
Or the what are the things that women wear now? The leggings or whatever. Or the
yoga pants.
Yeah, yoga pants.
Everyone's doing yoga everywhere, I guess.
Here's the thing: if you actually dress like a civilized person when you go to Rome or to an Italian city, they take note of that, and you get better service.
But you yourself said there's a difference between etiquette and manners.
Sure.
And so that is a matter of etiquette.
It's also manners. There's overlap here, isn't there? Well, here's another one. Here in the United States, even in Southern California and San Diego, there are restaurants with dress codes. You at least have to have a jacket on.
No way.
Yes.
No way.
I can name two.
I have been to the finest restaurants in San Diego. I've been to Olive Garden, the one down there. What are you talking about?
Do you know what Todd said about Olive Garden?
What?
He said, I'd rather eat out of the dumpster at Olive Garden than eat at Olive Garden.
I didn't know. I don't even know what that means.
It's just Olive Garden is
but
so
I do
bad.
have a feeling like I'm not talking about not dressing well or, you know, our parents' generation wore hats and we don't wear hats.
So what I'm saying is there's people there, even restaurants in Southern California where something is happening in this restaurant. There is an event that's underway, a celebration, a respect for the chef who's put time into doing something other than, you know, boil noodles and boil some ragu over the top of it. There's something underway here that the person who's participating in it dresses accordingly for. That's good. That's good manners.
That is good manners. But like with Joe's example is, I got on the subway and they're smoking pot. Like I feel like you're at a different level than the societal. I don't feel it's a societal crisis if someone didn't wear a jacket where they should have worn a jacket. I do feel it's a societal crisis if people are smoking pot, or even worse than that, people are on the airplane watching what is essentially pornography when there are children on the airplane. To me, this is a total social breakdown. I don't even know why American Airlines. You should be ashamed of yourself, American Airlines, for what you make available for people to watch. And I'm sure it's the other airlines too, but all my miles are with American, so I'm mad at them. But like, that's a total societal. Adults should know. I should not be watching this on an airplane. If there's a single child, I mean, frankly, if there's
anyone,
you shouldn't be watching it. But yes. I don't want to monitor your whole behavior. But where is the basic sense that this should not be on an airplane? It's a few hours. Can you go without your pornography till we land? Yeah, that's all I'm asking.
I think the heart of what I would say is the rudeness we have to worry about is when it comes from an attitude of indifference towards the dignity or needs of others. You know, like when your approach is just that you don't care if you're inconveniencing, annoying, off-putting, or scandalizing other people, that's when it goes from just like a social faux pas to an actual moral failing.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important difference. Like, I'm not worried about the person not wearing a jacket, but there are plenty of things people do where it ranges from, I'm going to annoy you, I'm going to have a conversation on a subway or on an airplane, and everyone else is just going to have to sit there while I'm having a conversation on the phone.
I had this experience recently in an airport.
Yeah.
It's outrageous. Or look, this is a generational one in the other direction. Don't leave your phone on sound. It shouldn't even have that feature unless it's an emergency. It should be silent or vibrate, and then you just return the missed calls.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I'll reverse one too. I don't want to just act like it's just the young people who are rude. If you're an elderly couple and you're not sure whether to turn left or right, step out of the elevator before you conclude the conversation. Just get out of the way.
What is this?
What are you doing?
Here? What is this?
No, or you know what? If you're older than I am, just don't drive in the fast lane. Just don't do it. What you think is fast is not what the rest of society thinks is fast. Stop it. But I do think there's basic, like, look, there's the person who when the speeding kid comes up behind them and rides their bumper, won't move over out of the way. And there's the person who will. And the person who won't is not a good person. You may think what you're doing is a good thing. Get out of that other person's way. The only thing to do, the only way to respond to that is with good manners. And I do feel on the roads, on the airplanes, in our public spaces, we are not considerate of one another. There is a lower consideration of one another.
I think there was a time when there was a concerted effort in the home and even in grade schools to have formal training in manners. What's the Oscar Wilde expression? Manners before morals, right?
It's and Flannery O'Connor's great book was Mystery and Manners, and I do think you can't have a society without manners. You can't have it. It's not a society if nobody has manners. It's something else. It's just a battle.
I would add one point just because I don't want people to get the wrong impression. There's a way that manners are sometimes weaponized to fight against morality and truth, where it's like, oh, it's rude to call that person out for their sin, or it's rude to talk about your faith, or, so there is a way in which I think everything we're approaching this from a certain perspective of what people understand manners and etiquette to be, but we should at least be aware that there are people who have a culture of, in New England and New York, whatever, we don't talk about religion. And so if you share your faith, you're actually being rude. Or if you challenge somebody's decisions about how they want to live their life or fill in the blank, that's rude. And that is a weaponization of a good thing for an evil end. And in those cases, very clearly, you have to be faithful to the truth, not kowtow to kind of a false morality or false manners.
It is a tough one, and I do feel like part of the reason why we can't resolve this is that there are so many layers like that, Joe. And but I'm going to poll the two of you now, and then I have a quiz for you. Is it rude? The name of this quiz is it rude? If somebody does this thing, is it rude? But first, I'm going to poll you. Objectively speaking, I'm going to just go over the last 20 years. Well, let's go from since the year 2000, since the entire world ended with the computer crash in the year 2000, and we all entered the Matrix. Were you guys not aware of that? That we're all living in a Matrix now?
It came out at the right time for that. That lines up.
Objectively speaking, not based on my subjective, I'm older, I can't bear as much as I could when I was young. Objectively speaking, are people ruder today than they were at the turn of the millennium?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that there's more indifference to your inconveniencing other people. I think the internet, I think isolation, I think
that COVID thing didn't help manners.
Yeah,
people didn't come out of COVID better behaved.
Joe calls it indifference. I would double down a little bit. I would just call it there's more self-centeredness. It's just people are more interested in themselves.
And I think there's a kind of misunderstanding of what proper assertiveness is. There's a sense of I've got to push you in order to show that you can't push me sometimes. And it's a terrible attitude. There is a proper assertiveness of the self, of say, look, I need this. Could you excuse me? There's a sick assertiveness in our society now. All right, we'll do the quiz when we come back. We have to take a quick break. Joe Heschmeyer, Chris Check, our guests. It's the Flannel Panel. We're doing the news of the world from a Catholic perspective. Vox got us really talking on this. This reporter, Ali Volpe, did a nice story on, is there a crisis of rudeness? The general idea here seems to be that yes, there is. So we'll take the Is It Rude quiz. I'll tell you what I'll do, too. During the break, I'll check on the YouTube feed there. And if you've got a question you want me to ask, is it rude when this happens? I'll pick some from YouTube, and we'll do that. When we come back, right after this, where we're always polite, right here on Catholic Answers Live. Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. Chris Check, Joe Heschmeyer are with us here in studio. It's Flannel Panel. We're doing news of the world from a Catholic perspective. And does the world feel ruder to you? Does it feel like people are getting ruder? You know when it feels ruder to me? Another time when it feels ruder to me, when I'm driving through a parking lot, grocery store, church, whatever, it doesn't matter. And people just walk in the middle of the parking lot, like everyone is supposed to wait for them to find their car. Have you guys noticed this? Like this is a real thing. Like you're in a parking lot. Just walk a couple feet to the side there, and we'll all be okay. But people seem to feel that no, that's too much of an imposition on their autonomy as human beings.
People bring their pets into grocery stores.
People bring their pets everywhere.
I think the pet thing really bothers me.
Me too.
It does.
It's bad.
I'm
a dog person.
on this one.
Yep, it's ridiculous. They'll put their little toy dog or whatever in the basket or the front basket where your child is going to sit, or where you're going to put your tomatoes or.
Yeah, right. This is like your dog doesn't. Your dog's not a person, even though you believe your dog is a person. Your dog's not a person. Stop doing that.
Right.
Okay. I'll tell you what. I'm going to do the quiz with you guys now. Is it? And this quiz comes from Lizzie Post, who. Lizzie Post is the co-president of the Emily Post Institute, Nepo baby, and wait, was that rude? No, Emily Post was a manners expert. Not the same as Miss Manners, but Emily Post. Like you would ask Emily, and you would write a letter to the newspaper. This was in the days when they had newspapers. So you write a letter to Emily, and you'd say, "Am I wrong about this?" And
Emily Post was etiquette. Miss Manners was manners. Judith Martin was Miss Manners.
So I don't know if Judith Martin has any descendants who are in the business, but the writer of this article in Vox, Ali Volpe, found Lizzie Post and asked her about rudeness, and the points were fine. Everything there was a lot that was good about it, but then they did this little quiz at the end or as part of the article. Is it rude? So we will now play the game, Is It Rude? And I'm going to start with the ones that Ali Volpe gave to Emily Post's descendant, Lizzie Post, now the co-president of the Emily Post Institute, an institute that I have to say I am fully supportive of, is if what they're trying to do is grease the wheels of social interaction by encouraging people to have manners.
Can I follow up on that observation that you just made? Etiquette is not arbitrary. It has practical value. I mean, and also, it's an interesting thing, isn't it, that people have to be trained or schooled or reminded or corrected or refined. I mean, the fact that there's a column about etiquette is an interesting thing. What do I do in this circumstance? What is the common practice, or over time, what has become the practice? But these practices are not just arbitrary things in the way that Joe was describing earlier. You slurp your bowl or you don't. They actually do, as you say, lubricate social interaction.
Yeah, so the proper etiquette, for example...
There's a moral purpose to them.
Yeah, but give me an idea of what is etiquette. Etiquette, for example, is the thing people always say is, I don't know which fork to use. That's the thing.
Yes. Well, let's start with not with your hands, right?
Yes, that's the proper etiquette.
Yeah.
But, okay, so then...
some people need to be told that.
Yeah, but if
don't wear a hat indoors, that's another one. Some people need to be told that. Ladies may, yeah.
All right. Well, let me ask you. Let me do the. Is it rude? Is it rude?
Can I quote an possibly apocryphal source from the 11th century
about hats and doors?
God in His wisdom has provided man with natural forks, his fingers. Therefore, it is an insult to him to substitute artificial metal forks for them when eating.
Was that Charlemagne that said that?
I don't know.
Not in the 11th century.
Oh, yeah, no, that's right.
Speaking of Charlemagne.
Actually, when forks were introduced to England, they were viewed as too Italian and were thus viewed as a little
a feat?
Frou-frou.
A feat,
The English would have been should have embraced more Italian They should have embraced more of the Italian way of life.
Yeah, especially the
like
cooking.
Staying Catholic would have been a good one. Cooking things properly would have been a good one. The English would have done better had they adopted more of the etiquette of the Italians. But speaking of Charlemagne, Chris said that, and I know why he said that, because we want to invite you to come on our cruise with the Flannel Panel, and we'll all be on it, and we're going to cruise up the Rhine, not down the Rhine, up the Rhine. We will
Even though on the map it looks like down the Rhine.
It looks like down the Rhine, on the map, because the Rhine is like the Nile, right? It runs, well, no, it's not.
Flows.
It flows, but it's kind of more meandering than the Nile, so I shouldn't have used that analogy. But you go up the Rhine from Amsterdam to Basel, Switzerland. We will start in Amsterdam on May 2nd. We will end in Basel, and we will visit all the Christian, not all the Christian sites, but all the most important Christian sites along the Rhine, which is the doorway for Christianity to enter Europe, certainly to enter Germanic Europe. And we're going to see where St. Hildegard, doctor of the church, was. The aforementioned Charlemagne will make various appearances.
Aachen, Trier,
Cologne, and we'd love it if you'd come. Just go to CatholicCruise.com and you can come.
We're running a special deal.
Oh, we are? We're running a special deal right now? Tell me about the special deal.
Between now, I can't.
Oh, you can't?
It's special.
Oh, it's top secret?
Yeah. So
you got to go to CatholicCruise.com?
You have to, actually, what you have to do is send an email to cruise@Catholic.com.
Cruise@Catholic. Send us an email now. And you can find out this secret super deal.
And that goes to Jennifer Phelps, and she will offer you an amazing deal.
Cruise@Catholic.com.
Cruise@Catholic.com. And
I don't even know what this deal is. I'm going to email Jennifer
I don't know either.
Phelps.
No one's told me. It's
I
top
can't
secret.
say it on the radio, Joe. I can't.
It's one of
That's
those.
how good
cannot
it
say it on the
is.
radio.
You have to send an email. If you forget cruise@Catholic.com, send an email to radio@Catholic.com and say, I heard about the amazing deal, and it's only through Labor Day. And then that'll get to Jen Phelps, and she'll get in touch with you, and it's an amazing deal.
Cruise@Catholic.com. Send your email to find out about the deal. If you just want to see the dates and where we're going, go to CatholicCruise.com. May 2nd is when we embark on this exciting adventure. All right, is it rude? Is it rude to talk on the phone in public? Yes or no, gentlemen?
Typically, yes. It depends on the setting.
Yes.
If you're in a confined area where people can't easily get away from you, yes. If you're talking at a louder than normal volume than you like compared to what you would in a two-person conversation, yes.
If in public means people can overhear your conversation, the answer is yes.
Have either of you seen?
I'm a little more moderate on it because I've talked to other people like when out and about, and so talking on a phone doesn't feel that different. Although it is different in some ways, and there's actually some interesting studies on this, that people have a harder time tuning out a phone conversation because they're hearing half of it and they've been programmed to listen to that and then respond.
Yeah.
Whereas when you hear two people talking, that it's closed.
Yeah.
And so, like you're wired to want to reply to somebody just saying, hey, how's it going? And unless there's somebody else who immediately jumps in and says something else.
Have either of you seen the videos on the YouTubes where the guy goes to the airport? You know, the airport is the worst because there's always some clown at every gate who sits there and talks really loudly.
He's
on
a
the phone.
high-powered businessman.
Like, or it's a woman who's. There's various personalities that undertake this, but there's always the one.
Somebody always has to do it. Yeah.
There's always the one loud talker. Yeah, I'm about to get on the plane, but I just bought 5,000 shares of Intel at 19. And everybody learns about this person's life and all what's going to happen to them, what has happened to them. We're all learning about this person. There's a guy on YouTube who sits down next to these people and talks on his phone, but he answers all the things that the other person says. And then the other person starts to realize that this person is having a conversation with them. And then they look over at the guy and go, they're like, are you talking to me? I'm on the phone. And he points to his phone like, no, I'm on the phone. I'm on the phone. Please don't interrupt me. I'm on the phone. And then they go back to their conversation and he has the other half of their conversation. It is hilarious to see it because every time they get offended by it, he just points at his phone and goes like, could you stop talking to me? I'm on my phone. Like, leave me alone.
That's excellent.
I
mean, the most outrageous place people talk is the restroom.
Oh, on the phone in the restroom?
Yeah, it's.
What kind of restroom do you go to, Joe?
Airport restrooms.
Yeah,
The
airports
number
are
of times
crazy,
someone is
man.
having a full-on conversation from a stall in the men's room, and you just think, what is your life come to? And what is the experience for the person on the other end of that? That can't be pleasant.
Airports are amazing for a few reasons. One, the loud talker on the phone. Two, the group of 5 friends who walk 5 abreast through the airport at a slow speed because they're chatting. Nobody can get around them. Everyone's trying to get to their flight, but these 5 are having a ball. Those are some of my favorite people. But
for me, it's the way people dress in airports.
Really?
I feel like of the 3 things, that one is the least disruptive.
No, people dress like utter savages in airports. They wear ball caps indoors. They wear spandex.
You are. I feel like this
I don't
whole
know,
thing it always comes back to Chris, and the rest of us are not dressing right.
Go to the
I'm
airport.
feeling very insecure about my job right now because you should see how I dress
We should bring
at work.
Thomas the TikTok engine out so that we don't feel as bad by comparison.
See how many people are wearing ball caps indoors. You'll be amazed. You'll be like, what is going on?
You know what you should do? You should walk through an airport slowly, talking loudly on your phone about how badly everyone is dressed. Like, oh, look at this clown in her knee-high boots and yoga pants. Like, you should just do that.
Let me pitch a design that we could just carry in the shop. How about a don't wear baseball caps indoors baseball cap?
I like it.
That could be Flannel Panel marketing, shop.catholic.com. We'll see if anything can happen.
All right. What's your view of the following one? Is it rude to text someone late at night?
I grapple with this. I got a text last night at 11 o'clock. I happened to be awake, and I was able to reply right away. I'm good at always leaving my phone on silent at night, and if I'm not, I blame myself. And I sort of expect other people operate on that same set of rules.
I'm going to tell.
But I do worry about inadvertently waking people up.
The answer is rude, but it's rude. But actually, there's a solution to this. Why is your phone in your bedroom?
Okay, this
Stop
is
it.
weirdly
Stop it.
The answer
Stop having your phone in your bedroom.
The answer from Lizzie Post is no. It is not rude. People can control their own devices. You can text them whenever you want.
Right. Like if someone doesn't have their phone in their bedroom, you texting them is not a problem.
Right. If you just turn your phone off like you're supposed to, I'm not bothering you. I'm just taking care of business. You can get, like, this amazed me. Someone once complained to me for emailing them in the middle of the night. I was like, look, that's not how email works. Okay. Like everyone else gets this. Like, I think I have good manners in general. It's okay to email you in the middle of the night. Get over it, Darren. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't Darren.
Text and email are materially different.
Yeah, but
not if you don't know how to control notifications on your phone. I don't know the age of the person that was complaining about this, but one of the issues is people not knowing
how to
make it so it doesn't ding every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there's a famous study about Americans bringing their phones back because they don't work. And this was by Japanese phone companies because the Japanese would read the instructions and then use the phone, and the Americans would just use the phone and then take it back because it doesn't work. It doesn't work. I can't get this thing to work. I don't know if that's true.
Because the Japanese have better manners.
Yes, the Japanese do have better manners. They have lovely manners. All right, is it rude to smack while eating?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a ridiculous question.
All right. Lizzie Post agrees with you. She says, yes, it is. I say it depends on the age and condition of the person who's smacking.
Sure. I mean, am I going to like?
All right. Let's see if you guys get.
No.
Let's see if you guys get this one right. Is it rude to ask for a +1 to a wedding?
What if you're one of the parties to the wedding? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh man, Anna was rough with you, huh? She's like, no, Joe, we're not having any of your friends at the wedding. And she was wise to do it, Joe.
I think it depends how close you are to the. I'm going to say no in the main.
I'm surprised at that answer.
I am surprised
on a scale
too. I think
of
it's
baseball
extremely
hats
rude.
To actually rude things, I'd put this in the actually rude category.
You absolutely should not.
I would say no.
+1.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, but like you said, it depends on how close. Like if it is a close relative.
If you were getting married, and I would say, can I bring Jackie?
Yeah, and that would be fine. I do agree with you. Yeah, if it's your close friend, there's a different. But if someone sends you an invite and it doesn't include a +1, then you just don't. Give
I
those
don't think
people
it's
a good
rude
present.
to ask for clarification to make sure. You know, sometimes you'll get an ambiguous invite. And not just to weddings, I guess.
Oh yeah, wedding
often
invitations now are a postcard with a QR code that you scan or something.
And I don't understand them. And I don't know how to respond to them. I don't understand them. So I just don't go to weddings anymore. All right, the last one, and then we got to take a break. We can do more when we come back if you want. Is it rude to recline on the airplane?
No.
Interesting.
Have you operated a seat on an air? What it reclines? What, half an inch?
I don't even. I can't tell the difference between reclined and not reclined anymore. So the lady, you're not supposed to say stewardess. My wife will smack me if I say that. The flight attendant said to me, "Could you please put your seat up?" I had no idea for the entire flight that I was reclined. I was not aware. I had not voluntarily reclined the seat. I think
it's not.
It depends on the length of the flight and how much of the flight you're like. I think, look, if we're all flying to Australia, I expect you're going to recline your seat. I understand that's what's going to happen on this flight. If it's a 2-hour flight to Sacramento, really, do you need to recline your seat?
Yes, the answer is yes.
Maybe you have a physical problem.
No, the answer is yes.
Maybe
the way the seat reclines side does not intrude on that fellow's.
I find it intrusive when the person in front of me.
It does if you're using a screen though. It intrudes in that sense. Like it changes the.
Oh, there's a solution.
And
to
it
this.
also can
Bring a
shift.
book.
Like if you've got like a drink on your tray.
I don't recline it consciously unless it's a very long flight.
It's not rude. They hardly recline at all.
I agree with that. They do hardly recline at all.
During meal times on extended flights, if everybody has to sit up, that very well. But after that, you can recline.
I think the issue is the airlines here have double sold the space. And I would add to this the armrest space. It's just this ambiguous no man's land.
No, it belongs to the middle person. The person in the middle, that's my feeling, is the person in the middle gets, don't come onto my side. I will block you if you try to come onto my side. We will fight for that. But come on, that middle seat person, they're suffering. Let them have that.
That's fair enough.
I just lean away from
I'd be fine with having that be a socially accepted norm.
Yeah, right.
But
is it rude if you get bumped up into first and you yell out, "I just got bumped up into first, losers. Enjoy it," in the back of the plane? Is that rude? All right, we'll take a break. We'll be right back. More Catholic Answers Live coming up.
Stay with us for more Catholic Answers Live.
Underwriting for Catholic Answers Live is provided by Magnificat. Published monthly, Magnificat features texts of daily Mass, prayers, articles, meditations, art commentaries, and more, in step with the liturgical rhythm of the Church, on the web at magnificat.com.
The most original and exclusive Catholic content is on EWTN Radio.
You know, we talk story with each of our very unique guests for the whole hour, so that you can go deep with us as you yourself pursue your own story of heroic virtue and as you pursue intimacy with God.
The Bear Wozniak Adventure, Saturday night, 6 Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I am Cy Kellett, your host. Do you have your phone on you, Chris? I wanted you to read a little the quote. I don't know if you brought your phone with you.
It's in my office.
I'm sorry that I did that because I wanted you to read Atlantic Magazine. We're doing the news of the world from a Catholic perspective with the Flannel Panel. And
I have my laptop here.
Is Canada killing itself? That was the headline. Oh, another question headline. Yeah. A question mark headline from the Atlantic. And this is actually quite a disturbing story. Is Canada killing itself? More people dying by suicide in Canada now than are dying from renal failure. Or you'll have to tell me. I might be forgetting which disease. Joe, by the way, renal failure is kidney. Is a kidney problem. I just wanted you to know. I didn't mean to use fancy words on you, Joe. I apologize. It is. That was rude, and there's part of the growing rudeness to use medical terms around the uneducated former lawyers and seminarians. But
In Quebec?
You
go ahead.
sent the first several paragraphs of that article,
well,
but it is incomplete.
Or some cut and paste.
All right, but you sent the text. Can you tell me what the part that you sent in the text was devastating? And I just wanted you.
There are 3 sections here.
All right, give me
I'll start
something.
with the short one here. In Quebec.
Yeah.
Quebec.
Catholic Quebec.
More than 7% of all deaths are by euthanasia.
God help us.
That is a shocking number.
That is. Why are we not more shocked by
This
that?
is, by the way,
that's horrifying.
The highest rate of any jurisdiction in the world. So this is the other one, other side of Canada. Stephanie Green, a physician on Vancouver Island and one of the organization's founders, this is a pro-euthanasia organization, told me how her decades as a maternity doctor
prepared her.
I've let to sink that one in.
Yeah.
So had helped equip her for this new chapter in her career that is killing people.
Yeah, because go ahead. Read on.
Was maternity doctor a euphemism for like an abortionist?
No, she's talking about delivering babies.
It goes. Well, here's the answer. In both fields, she explained, she was guiding a patient through an, I quote, essentially natural event, close quotes. The emotional and medical choreography, quote, of the most important days in their life. So birth and death, right? Emotional.
Can I just add
just hang on a second. I got to repeat this phrase. The emotional and medical choreography. So killing someone is a medical choreography.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. It's a little bit more here, Joe. She continued the analogy. Here's Stephanie Green, medical doctor. I thought, well, one is like delivering life into the world, and the other feels like transitioning and delivering life out. And so Green does not refer to her, I forget what MAID is, M-A-I-D. It's this
medically
assisted. Yeah, you're right.
In dying.
Yeah.
Medical assistance in dying.
Refer to her MAID deaths only as, here's the quote, provisions, the term for euthanasia that most clinicians have adopted, like choice, right? She also called them, quote, deliveries.
She might need a deliverance.
Because that's demonic.
Yeah.
It is.
She's making an equivalence between killing and giving birth. That's the equivalence that she's making. And she's doing it, she thinks that's poetic or something, that she sees killing somebody and giving birth to somebody. Essentially, look, Joe, this is the same
I feel
thing.
like OJ missed a heck of a defense to say, well, death is an essentially natural event.
Here's a little more from the same piece. The details of the assisted death experience have become a preoccupation of Canadian life. Patients meticulously orchestrate their final moments, planning celebrations around them. Weekend house parties before a Sunday night euthanasia in the garden. A Catholic priest to deliver last rites.
That part shocked me.
Yeah.
I was like, that really took me aback. Because that's a violation. Like
for sure.
Yeah, you're not allowed to do that.
You can't do that.
Extended family renditions of Auld Lang Syne at the bedside. For $10.99, $10.99 Canadian, by the way, you can design your MAID experience with the help of the Be Ceremonial app. Suggested rituals include a story altar, a forgiveness ceremony, and the collecting of tears from witnesses.
You know, I do think we have to be careful not to be too critical of those who are really afraid of suffering or who are suffering greatly. Like, there is a terrible thing that happens with a kind of chronic suffering, and especially when that chronic suffering is persistent, just won't get better, but is also just progressively getting worse. That we owe a great deal to people who are in that situation, and we shouldn't make fun of them because they seek suicide. That's not what we're doing here. This is a country that is, rather than assisting those people or placing its resources at their service to palliate their suffering, to be with them in their suffering, is just killing them and calling that a cure to their suffering.
Yeah, so I'm sympathetic to what you say, but it's in fact, you read the progression in the relaxation of the laws in Canada, which at one time only accounted for or permitted in cases of extreme suffering. Once that door is open, much the way the Lambeth Council, for example, said it's okay to, in a masterstroke of eugenics that no one seems to have caught, it's okay that the poor people contracept because, of course, we don't want them to reproduce.
Yeah.
So once
you let it, like people make fun of slippery slope arguments, and here's the problem with making fun of them: they're true. That's human nature. Is we are all living on a slippery slope. If we let go of certain things, we will slip down. And like if I start shooting heroin today, it's very likely I'm on a slippery slope to my personal destruction. That's what human life is. It's a slippery slope. So
I like that your gateway is beginning heroin. But yes, it's still a good point.
All right, I see what. If I continue with my hair, I get what you. Thanks for calling me out, Joe. All right, we'll be right back. We're going to talk more about what's going on in Canada. It's ugly. It's coming to a state near you. Have you ever wondered about the mysterious, even obscure aspects of the Catholic faith? Dive into the Jimmy Akin podcast, where Jimmy brings together information from many fields as he pushes the boundaries of apologetics. Tune in today to the Jimmy Akin podcast, Mysteries of the Faith, a highly entertaining, informative, and at times humorous show that will help you grow in your faith. Visit JimmyAkinPodcast.com today to subscribe.
Lots of people have big questions about Catholicism. It needs a big book of answers. And now it's got one. The Big Book of Catholic Answers is filled with helpful replies to more than 250 questions about the faith. Questions about God, salvation history, the Creed, the Bible, the list goes on and on. Order your copy of the Big Book of Catholic Answers today at shop.catholic.com or ask for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
What was the church like in its infancy? In a word, Catholic. And Joe Heschmeyer has the receipts. In his best-selling book, The Early Church Was the Catholic Church, he gives you the details from the historical records of the first 2 centuries of Christianity. Right now, get a copy for just $10, plus free shipping if you live in the continental United States. Get more information and order The Early Church Was the Catholic Church at theearlychurchwascatholic.com.
What is the Catholic Church? Everyone seems to have an opinion, but the church never quite fits into the boxes people make for it. In The Faith Unboxed, author Andrew Petiprin looks at some of the most common boxes people put the Catholic Church in and explains why they don't fit. In doing so, he brings us closer to what the church really is, the institution founded by Christ. Order The Faith Unboxed today at shop.catholic.com or ask for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I am Cy Kellett, your host. If it feels like we've played this game before, we have played this game before. Societies have embraced suicide in the past. Those societies didn't last. Their destruction follows shortly behind that embrace of suicide.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know what happens when you embrace suicide is you get more suicide. And when you get more suicide, eventually your whole society will just end. You cannot. Death is not a basis for holding a society together. Death is the basis for the whole thing flying apart.
So here's an example, and I wouldn't call it a society, but it was a cult. The dude in Guyana.
Jim Jones.
Yeah,
Jim Jones.
Yeah.
Right.
Everyone sort of regards that moment with horror. Right?
Yeah, I hope so.
Well, I mean,
but I don't know,
they?
Chris. I
but
honestly don't know if everybody
But why are
regards that.
Canadians regarding what's going on in their country with horror?
Yeah, they're a Jim Jones drink the Kool-Aid cult now, and they think it's good. Like we're doing it better than him.
Right.
Like our system is better than Jim Jones' system. It's insane. It's insanity. But do you want to read any more of the clips?
No, that's but what I ask is. Well, how much deeper into the abyss can you sink when suicide is a positive social good?
And Joe was saying to us during the break, well, you can sink lower. And say something about that, Joe. It seems to me that a society that has decided, you're not feeling your best this year, why don't you just kill yourself? Which is, honestly, that's where Canada is. Don't lie to yourselves, Canada. That's what's going on. People are having a bad year and killing themselves, and you're all saying, well, major depression should be treated with suicide. That's a dangerous thing that you've decided to do. And so, Joe, how can it get worse than that?
Yeah, one of the things that happens with medically assisted suicide or murder, as we sometimes call it, is it's much cheaper than actual medical care. And so insurance companies will stop paying for treatment so that you're actually in a much worse position in a country with legalized euthanasia, because insurance will cover your treatment in a country where they can't kill you legally, and won't cover your treatment in a country where they can kill you legally to try to put pressure on you to kill yourself.
Right.
Like, that is actually happening.
And they can make you feel bad enough that you want to kill yourself.
Right.
So that's a self-fulfilling
yes,
thing.
So,
exactly.
a long time.
Suffering is not worse in Canada than it is in other parts of the world.
Okay, now hang on a second. And
yeah,
I'm obviously not defending what's going on here, but it is cold there, and it's very
like a
cold.
Californian.
It's very
anything above 75 or below 65.
It's very cold and dark, and like the sun doesn't shine for 6 months out of the year or something.
Not Quebec. Quebec is beautiful.
Quebec is beautiful.
We're not like in Yukon
when the sun's
or
out.
something.
No, it is beautiful. Dick Lamb, remember Dick Lamb, governor of Colorado, Richard Lamb?
I have forgotten him. I apologize.
He was the brother of Bobby Lamb, the guy who played keyboards for Chicago. He made that comment.
I'm nodding like I know what you're talking about.
Well,
so just go ahead, but I'm going to keep nodding like I know what you're talking about.
So when was he governor? In the early 80s or mid 80s, mid to late 80s? He made that comment about healthcare. He said, whatever it was, 80% of the person's spending on health, of a human's spending on healthcare is in the last 20% of his life, or 90-10 or whatever it is.
Right.
Now, he actually was observing something about prolonging human life, probably artificially or unnecessarily.
Yeah. There can be that kind of cruelty at the end of life.
What's that?
There can be that kind of cruelty where
life gets prolonged unnecessarily.
Where there's treatments that are cruel, are inflicted upon the dying.
Yeah. But that has what's the word? Morphed into what Joe is describing.
Well,
here.
we just kill them.
Yeah.
We save that. If 80%, we could save 80% on our healthcare if we just kill sick people. We'll kill sick people.
No, my doctor said to me last time I saw him, he said the trick is to get all your morbidity in the last 6 months of your life.
Thanks, Doc.
How do I organize
I'm working on that.
this?
Thanks, Doc. Well, one way to do that is to just kill yourself because then you're completely in control of it. Because one of the ways, like that doctor is talking about controlling something that you actually don't have
control over. And this I think is obviously what's at the heart of the Christian worldview, and that is that there's a lot we don't control, and Jesus does.
But caring for the sick is not a waste of money.
No.
And that's, I think, where we're in trouble, is that we're starting to see it as, look, these people are, if we get rid of them, our carbon footprint will go down. You think, oh, that's silly, Si. But no, people are saying that. There are these, like, people are having to write books about how, like, have you seen that? There's a New York Times bestseller out now about how having fewer babies is not actually better for the planet, because we have to explain to people, look, like, this is how crazy it has become. Look, your death is actually good for the planet, so why don't we just hasten your death? There are people who are thinking that way.
Well, I mean, I was a child of 1985. 1991, Captain Planet, there was a special episode encouraging us to have small families for the sake of the environment.
Bill McGibbon.
We can choose to not have more than 2 kids.
Yeah, Bill McGibbon came out with that famous book, Only One.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there was a strong indoctrination in the other direction, and it was completely wrong, as it always was. I mean,
well,
if you follow the whole debate between Paul Ehrlich and
Ehrlich was totally wrong. Ehrlich is
right.
Yeah.
But he still won't admit that he's wrong. But he's completely wrong.
Is he still
Julian
alive?
Simon.
Yeah, he's still alive.
The economist Julian Simon.
Yeah, so you're talking about, okay, so we have to slow down for a minute. Joe is talking about a famous bet between Paul Ehrlich, who wrote The Population Bomb, one of the most evil endeavors in false science ever perpetrated, a lie that Walter Cronkite fell for hook, line, and sinker to his eternal embarrassment, I hope, because CBS News started selling the idea of the population bomb. It was bad science. It was stupid science. It never happened. It never can happen. It never will happen. But millions of people chose not to have children because of it. But there was a famous bet. So that's what you were referring to. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I'm
there
not
was
a big
bet.
Okay,
go ahead, Joe. Explain the bet.
I'm not a big
Paul
Julian
Ehrlich.
Simon fan.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yes.
We talked about
Okay.
this one other time on the air.
Oh, okay.
So it doesn't matter. Julian Simon was right about this. And Julian Simon argued.
If you view people as economic resources.
But let's not argue about it without explaining what it is. Okay. So go ahead, Joe.
Yes, that's a great point. In 1980, the two have a 10-year-long bet on natural resource scarcity because Paul Ehrlich's whole theory was population growth is just going to be like rats where you're going to overpopulate and there's going to be a shortage of natural resources. And in response to this, Julian Simon says, okay, well, if you're right, then your argument is that the price of all these goods is going to go way up. But as we look at history, the price of goods has gone down in terms of natural resources.
Raw materials.
Like it's easier to get a gallon of oil. I was, aside, I was looking at old Facebook pictures. 6 years ago, gas prices were like $3.30. Here they're $2.80. I mean, they've gone down in real dollars, and when you adjust for inflation, it's a massive drop. Well, that's the overall story, that things tend to go down in price, and that's not what you'd expect if Paul Ehrlich's view was correct. So Ehrlich takes the bet. They bet on 5 different natural resources, and he's wrong on all 5. It was copper, chromium, nickel, tin, and tungsten. And Ehrlich completely lost on all of this, which should have been the end of this whole line of thinking. Like every means by which you proposed it could be measured, it was debunked. And you chose the 5, and you lost on all 5. And
But
yet
Ehrlich
people
won't
continue to No,
there's still a population bomb in our future, according to. But
and Ehrlich wasn't even an original thinker. He was working off of Thomas Malthus from the
the dismal science.
Yeah. I'm wondering though if there isn't something that's even deeper than I don't know, care for the environment or whatever it is claims that or these people claim motivates their thought. Because with the deliberate effort not to reproduce or abortion or taking, suicide, euthanasia, the thing that all of these have in common is a hatred of the human person. What is
disgust at the human person, some negative.
So what does that derive from? Well, I know the devil hates the human person,
right?
Because because the human person is repopulating heaven, which 2/3 of he and 2/3 of his followers vacated, according to the fathers.
A third of the angels is the usual.
Is it a third? I thought it was 2/3. Okay, all right.
The usual.
Yeah. So now the kingdom of heaven is being repopulated by the human person. And so I think it's important to bear in mind that, or to recall that these abortion, contraception, suicide, these things are deliberate enthusiasms of the devil because of the resent that he has for the human person.
And I think that's why
because they're taking his place.
Right. And I'm glad you said that, because I said earlier this Canadian attitude towards life is demonic. I'm not saying that everyone in Canada is possessed by the devil. I'm saying that the devil entices us to imagine the world in a way that the world is not. And then we are tricked by the demons into thinking fewer people is better. Less sick people is better. Therefore, abortion is good, and suicide is good, and euthanasia is good. All of that is demonic. That's a demonic lie, because the world is better with more people, and it's worse with fewer people. The world gets better with more people. And so God wasn't tricking us when he said, be fruitful and multiply. He was not tricking us. He was telling us the key to our happiness and our flourishing. More people is better. There is no such thing as a population bomb. There is no such thing as overpopulation. The only place that has ever been overpopulated is the lifeboats, certain lifeboats of the Titanic. There's no land mass that is overpopulated or ever will be. People are good. If you become confident in that, then the scales start to fall from your eyes and you see this, all of this doomsday stuff is a lie. Have babies, be happy. That's what God wants.
Well said, Cy Kellett.
Amen. Yes, that is very well said. Well, we're going to take this in a much darker direction.
Go! Oh, let's go. We've been waiting for you to take it in a darker direction.
After that inspiring, uplifting, encouraging talk by Cy, Joe's going to bring it back down.
You know what? You asked me earlier, how can the situation in Canada get worse? And I think one of the things is you can start shaming people, not only for not killing themselves, but for not killing their disabled children.
Oh,
and so
gosh,
Richard Tanania
That's going on in California.
That's going on
Go,
all
Joe,
over the
preach
place.
it. Preach it, Joe.
Richard Tanania is a popular right-wing speaker. And so this is not coming, in this case, from the left. And he attacked online 3 days ago people who don't want to kill children with Down syndrome in the womb. He says Down syndrome is the one disease where the relatives of the people with the disease go around advocating more people have it. It's a uniquely sick thing. And he lauded places like Iceland where they've killed nearly everyone with Down syndrome. That is, again, demonic and an obvious, dishonest argument. To say, I don't think we should murder people with one leg doesn't mean I think we should go around cutting off people's legs so that we have more people with one leg. It just means if someone has Down syndrome, you don't advocate for them being killed. That doesn't mean you're trying to get everybody else to develop a third, 21 chromosome or something like that's not the argument at all. It's just regardless of if someone is sick or well, regardless of if they have, the normal number of chromosomes or one more, we don't treat them like garbage. We don't kill them.
What kind of a person feels this loathing towards a Down
syndrome person
who tend to be just, frankly, the most
people that are better than you,
joyful,
kill them. Yeah, right. This is a person who's disposed almost always towards goodness. I feel like I've known a pretty good number of Down syndrome people with Down syndrome in my life. I haven't met any evil ones yet.
No, there's no guile or.
Well, there's some. I mean, but in general, no. Right. This is not a disease that or an illness or a chromosomatic problem that makes people worse than you, dude. So why do you want to kill them all?
Right. If you're worried about something like human suffering, this doesn't seem to be the place to direct your ire. And instead of directing ire, maybe come up with a constructive, non-lethal solution.
Well, I don't like to say political things, and we do have to go to the break, but I'm going to end with a political thing. I'm going to advocate a presidential candidate for the United States. And I know usually we don't do this, but I want Patricia Heaton to be president of the United States. I will vote for her. I wish she would run. Patricia Heaton was on this before the rest of us were. If you don't know who Patricia Heaton is, look her up and then go visit her and tell her she should run for president of the United States. We got to take a break. We'll come back. We got a new segment on Catholic Answers, the Flannel Panel, Catholic Answers Live Flannel Panel.
You're listening to Catholic Answers Live.
Underwriting for Catholic Answers Live is provided by Real Estate for Life. Real Estate for Life connects homebuyers and sellers to real estate agents while supporting pro-life organizations. On the web at realestateforlife.org.
Proclaiming the faith, changing lives.
The year was 1978. Mother Angelica produces her first television show, Our Hermitage, at a local television studio. The Christian Broadcast Network requests 60 episodes. To cover the cost, Mother returns to the speaking circuit.
To learn more about Mother Angelica's life and the history of EWTN, visit EWTN.com/Mother Angelica.
Who was the first Catholic in your family? Were they evangelized by a friend, a coworker, a stranger? Did you ever think that you could be that person that God uses to save a soul? and that soul could save their family, their grandchildren, and generations to come. At St. Paul Street Evangelization, a Catholic nonprofit, we train, equip, and mobilize Catholic disciples to do the urgent work of evangelization. Catholic Answers is supported in part by St. Paul Street Evangelization, streetevangelization.com.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. We've got a new segment we're going to try out called Flannel Panel Recommends. Each of us is going to give a recommendation to you for something that will make your life better. I already recommended having babies, and I feel good about that recommendation. But let me just show you. This is not my recommendation. I'm just going to show you how it works. So if there's a book you really like, then you recommend the book, and this book will make people's lives better. So I'm going to recommend a new book. This is just an example. This is not real right now. This is just an example, but there's a lovely new book out called How to Talk About Jesus with Anyone, Tested Techniques for Planting Seeds and Saving Souls. I recommend everyone get this book. This is how, Joe, you see I'm doing this as an example.
Who was the author of that?
Well, the main author is Steve Dawson, the founder of St. Paul Street Evangelization. Brilliant man with wonderful insights on how to evangelize, how to talk about Jesus with anyone. I'm not giving my recommendation right now. I'm showing you guys how this would go.
Yes.
So you find something that you would think makes everyone's life better. So let's say, for example, you thought the book, How to Talk About Jesus with Anyone, would make everyone's life better. You would hold up the book, How to Talk About Jesus with Anyone, and you would say, buy this book, it'll make your life better. So do either of you want to try it?
Yeah, I can understand hypothetically if someone were to pitch that book.
What's the book,
was it called? How to Talk About Jesus?
With
anyone.
Yeah.
Would you go to shop.catholic.com?
You could go to shop.catholic.com and get it right now if you want it. You can buy it in bulk. You can give it away at your parish.
Can you get Cy Kellett to sign it?
You could get Cy Kellett to sign it, yes.
I understand. He also is the author of this book.
Because what's more important than evangelization? We are all called to share the person of Jesus Christ. And this one is called, just for an example, I'm just using this as an example now. I might say, hey, go out and buy How to Talk About Jesus with Anyone.
May I give a footnote here?
Yeah.
So we have a Wednesday staff meeting at Catholic Answers. The whole staff gathers on Wednesdays.
Yes.
In the morning for a meeting.
Right.
We call it a staff.
Or are you going to talk about Todd Aguilar?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Go ahead. So share this anecdote.
Todd Aguilar, who is the
no-nonsense publisher.
He's originally from Long Island or something.
Right, but he's got more of a Bronx feel to him.
He's absolutely.
Oh, he's a rough and ready Italian.
There's nothing cuddly about him at all.
No, he's a horrible person. No, he's a great person. I'm sorry, I went too far with that. I apologize.
He has a sous vide machine.
Yeah.
He's into knives, Japanese knives.
He used to throw a great party every fall.
Yeah.
But he hasn't done that.
No, he hasn't. No. Todd, who is the director of publishing at Catholic Answers, periodically will talk at staff meetings. All the directors get an opportunity to.
Yeah.
Todd always sort of objects that he has to. He never feels like he has to say anything.
All the directors get it, even Christine Venditti?
Yes.
Okay.
Director Venditti.
Just want to make sure that we.
He got up and gave the most heartfelt endorsement of your book. And you know what he said? He said, if you want to continue in your delusion that you don't have a responsibility to evangelize, and specifically to have conversations with people about Jesus Christ.
Yep.
Because he said, some people say, oh, well, I evangelize by example. Right?
Yeah.
He says...
That's how they talk.
Yes. Yeah. Right,
they have that very lilting...
I evangelize by example.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can tell, they really don't. But he said, if you're one of those people who thinks you don't have an obligation to have conversations with people about Jesus Christ, do not pick up this book.
Yep.
Because it will shut that nonsense down.
How to Talk About Jesus with Anyone. Available now at shop.catholic.com.
3 years ago, I told Steve Dawson we needed this book.
Well,
and you brought it into existence, Si.
Well, I have to say, every idea in the book is Steve's idea. but I just helped organize it into a book. But Steve, a great man.
He is.
A magnificent
He's
mission.
at our
I'm delighted
He's
to be
going to
part
be at
of
our
it.
conference this.
Okay, so that would be how you do it. So that's just an example of how you do it. You don't have to endorse a particular book like How to Talk About Jesus with Anyone. But Chris, you want to go first? Or you want to go
I
second?
want to recommend two things.
You go first. Go.
The first is Cluny Press. CLUNY.
Okay.
Cluny Press. These young men are bringing so many classics of theology, of fiction, of history back into print. Now, I have one.
They have one of my favorite books.
They have several of my favorite authors, including Paul Horgan. They're bringing almost all of Paul Horgan back into print. I think America's greatest Catholic novelist, and Henri Daniel Rowe, the great historian. They're bringing all of his stuff back into print, and Edward Lean, What is Education? Although I think they've retitled it. Edward Lean, Father Edward Lean. Was one of the great pre-conciliar retreat givers, an Irish priest. I have one little beef with Cluny, and a lot of it is POD. Some of it is hardcover, which is really beautiful.
Yeah.
And
POD is print on demand.
But I don't fault them because to maintain so much inventory,
that's hard to do.
Of all of the titles they're bringing back, this is how they can do it. And POD gets better every year, and their covers are truly lovely. So
Cluny Press. Check it out.
Here's the other one.
Yeah.
Anthony Bukowski is the best living Catholic fiction writer alive today.
You've told me that, and I got to read him.
You got to get him on the show. You got to do an interview with him. He just came out with a brand new collection of short. He's from Superior, Wisconsin. All of his stuff. He's Polish, Bukowski. So all of his stuff is set in up there in Superior, Wisconsin. He's been writing books, short stories, since the 80s. University of Wisconsin Press. His latest book is The Thief of Words. This man, I think he's in his late 70s. He is absolutely at the top of his art. There's not a better short story writer alive in America today. He's also a Catholic, Anthony Bukowski.
Joe, you want to go, or you want to wait for me to go?
I can go quickly.
Okay.
I was going to say Introduction to the Devout Life by St. Francis de Sales.
You love that book.
Is that a new book?
Love
is that a new
book.
book? Is that new?
Yeah,
wait, does it
it's
have
modern.
To be new?
It's within the
Are
last
the Cluny
500
books
years.
New? These are reprints of books like as old as the one I recommended. Edwin O'Connor.
Yes.
Is one of the books that Cluny has.
Yes.
It is a book called The Edge of Sadness, and my first spiritual director told me it was the greatest book on the priesthood written by a Catholic layman, and it's a novel about a priest who is spiritually burnt out. And so I highly recommend it, particularly for priests, but also for anyone who just feels exhausted, and if they feel like that exhaustion is impeding their spiritual life. This is a great novel that grapples with that issue in a really honest way, and as a bonus, gives us a great kind of glimpse into the life of the church, kind of at the eve of the Second Vatican Council, where you start to see that things aren't as pretty as maybe they look on the outside.
Say the name of the book and the author again, Joe.
Yeah, The Edge of Sadness by Edwin O'Connor.
Very good. Can I do two? I'm going to do two since you did two.
It's your show, Si.
I hope that people will. First thing I want to recommend, go to triumphoftheheart.com. Triumphoftheheart.com. Anthony D'Ambrosio, Marcellino D'Ambrosio's son, a fine young artist, filmmaker, in love with the person of Maximilian Kolbe. And the big Maximilian Kolbe, Triumph of the Heart, is coming out in September. I just want every Catholic to know it's coming out, and please consider at least sponsoring a showing of it in a theater near you or going to see it. And my other recommendation, and I know I'm early on this, but I've always wanted to make this recommendation early. I have discovered something in my own life in recent years, Advent and Lent without media. And so I know we're a long way from Advent, but I would like to put the idea in your head, could you consider fasting from media throughout the season of Advent? I can't, it's done something for me. I very much value those times, and these are beautiful seasons that the church has. Give it a shot. And anybody, anything else?
Yeah, if I may.
That comes from the heart because you're in media, Si.
I know, and that's why I hate it so much.
Yeah.
It's like people that make sausage hate sausage.
Vatican.va.
No.
Getting Pope Leo's homilies and just reading through them.
Vatican.va.
Truly beautiful. Yeah, just read his homilies and his Wednesday audiences, and there's something so spiritually rich so frequently that it's a great, easy-to-read spiritual resource.
All right, those are Flannel Panel recommends. That will do it for us. Joe Heschmeyer, thank you very much. You came dressed and prepared for this one. It was beautiful.
I do what I can.
And you have very good manners, too, Joe Heschmeyer. Chris Check.
Thank you, Cy.
Thank you for not only being on the show, but you didn't wear a baseball cap indoors.
I'll do my best.
I appreciate both of those things. Darren running the board, Edgar running the cameras. Anybody else in there, or is it just you two? It's just you two? Like this, the five of us did this whole show? It's beautiful. We'll see you next time. By the way, if you have complaints, send them to Chris Check, President of Catholic Answers. We'll see you next time, God willing, right here on Catholic Answers Live.